Rummel leading scorer. As a clutch performer, sank a 25-footer with 3 seconds left to beat Jesuit in 1976. And against eventual state runner-up Bill Sally, sank 2 free throws in the final seconds to give the Raiders a 1-point victory. One incredible moment which he cited, which I had to mention, was of course against Bonneville, as he was scrambling for a loose ball, found himself underneath the Bruins basket, and of course with players surrounding him, as you are familiar with, when people are chasing the ball, he didn't want to give the ball up or try to make a pass and have it stolen and give the other team a layup. So rather than doing that, sitting on his backside, he decided to just let one loose. You know the rest of the story. Went through the basket on the other end of the court against Bonneville. He was great on the court, but he was even better in the classroom. He earned salutatorian honors here at Archbishop Rummel High School. His commitment to academic excellence played a part in his decision to give up basketball and to not accept the scholarship offer. He had opportunities at Stephen F. Austin and Trinity University, but he took an academic scholarship to Tulane instead, graduated with a BS in mechanical engineering. He was selected to the New Orleans All-Metro team following his senior year, was the Catholic League's leading scorer, an all-district performer in 1975 and 1976, made the All-CYO tournament team his senior year, and was selected as MVP of his teams as well for those 2 years. And he finished in 1976 as the single-season record holder in free throw percentage. He hit an amazing 90% of his free throw attempts. On a personal level, it's a blessing to see a childhood friend from Bucktown, St. Louis King of France, and Lakeshore Playground receive his just due. And the only downside is that Jim Robards couldn't be here tonight because he was his biggest advocate. And Billy will give me some credit, but Jim was the one that really wanted him to receive this honor very badly. So, Jim, God bless you. We got it done. From the class of 1976, please give a warm welcome to the Archbishop Rummel Athletic Hall of Fame, Billy Schaefer. Billy?
Well, first I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. Two other Doug Dees and Kenny coming up here. That's some nice hair and stuff. I feel a little bit out of place here. I'm a little worried about that. I came through, I kind of felt like the Blake Ruby of the New Orleans Central in the Super Bowl. And for those that, I'm glad they gave these brochures out tonight because I wasn't sure if everybody had one. And you'll see my picture on there. I also brought this credential on my graduation. I wasn't an imposter here tonight. That having been said, when I got the phone call from Jay, I was beyond ecstatic to be put up for this. My heart was actually racing. I thought about it quite a bit. It was kind of hard to go to sleep that night. I asked Jay, one of the questions I did ask him, because I was concerned at the time, was about how long I had to talk. And Jay said, well, normally right around about 10 minutes. Well, I started to worry about that a little bit because I'm always in remembrance of one of my stepchildren back when he was in 2nd grade, so he was 7 years old. My wife and I picked him up from school one day, and on the way home, I could see in the rearview mirror his forehead was kind of wrinkled, like he really had something on his mind, but I wasn't going to ask. I remember this was in 2nd grade, so he leans forward between the seats and says, Mr. Bill, I said, yes, Chicks. He said, I got a question to ask, but I don't want a long answer. So, after my wife quit laughing hysterically, I looked at him and said, well, Chase, some questions require longer answers than others. What's your question? So that's how I started off with him, and I think he had seen how I treated the other two throughout the time that, as a stepdad, that they had questions, and he was just taking it all in. He was always quiet. He hits you with that, you just don't know what to say. The point of the matter is that it's going to be tough to get through this in 10 minutes, so please bear with me. I'll try and keep it as interesting as I can and as straightforward as I can. Kenny mentioned I have an engineering degree, so as I thought about this and what's the best way to get through, I kind of tried to dissect it into 3 segments that I want to get through tonight. The first of which is my gratefulness, and to give out some thank yous. So I'd like to start by giving thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for all the blessings He has given me throughout my lifetime, one of which is being here tonight. It is truly a blessing for me to be inducted to the Rummel Athletic Hall of Fame. I'm humbled and honored to be recognized as one of the many great athletes in its history. You just saw two of them come up just now, and you just recognized some of them that have come back tonight, which I greatly appreciate. I'd also like to thank Kenny for nominating me, along with an endorsement and support of late legendary coach Jim Rummel, both of whom are members of the Rummel Athletic Hall of Fame. That makes it even more important to me. Kenny and I go back to grade school at Lakeshore Playground together. And for those that don't know, Kenny was quite an athlete back then too. We played ball together at Lakeshore, particularly baseball, and had some good times together. I'd also like to thank Jay and the other members of the committee for selecting me. It's one thing to be nominated, but you have to get through the process and be selected. And I really appreciate that. I've got some family here tonight. I think most of them came because I invited them to come. They've come from other places, out of state. I think they thought I said I'd buy them dinner and drinks and didn't know I told them a ceremony where there'd be some food and drinks. But they're here, and I'm grateful for that. I'd like to thank Lynn Hinkle, Matthew and Natalie Cloud, and Miss Mary Ann Robarts. I'd like to thank my friends Kent and Pam Higgins, David and Tanya Everett. David, by the way, was a star tennis player here. And David and Sharon Landry. And David was a star baseball player here. He and I, along with Kenny, go back to our days about down at St. Louis King of France Grammar School. You know, I mentioned a little bit before about age, and while my basketball skills have diminished, got all the aches and pains of a typical 65-year-old, can't really play anymore. But my friends, some of which I just mentioned, really helped me keep that competitive edge by playing dominoes and Yahtzee. We get together at least once a week, and let me tell you, they're a tough crowd. Sometimes I'm worried I'm going to have to call an Uber for the other one's spot. I'd also like to thank my family that's here tonight. My sister Peggy, my brother Jerry, my sister-in-law is Donna and Christine, and brother-in-law is Jimmy and Al. And a special thank you to my beautiful wife Denise and my three stepsons, and their wives or significant others. I have Austin and his wife Susanna, I have Ross and his wife Rachel, I have Chase and his girlfriend Helen. They all live out of state. I tried to convince them this was no big deal, even though it was a big deal to me. They didn't need to come. But they're all here tonight, even though I'm not buying them dinner. And lastly, for this part of my talk, I'd like to thank my teammates that are here tonight. Timmy Powers and Alan Thibodeau, and my coaches. Miles Sagers is here tonight. Lake Kim Robarts, as we have already discussed, is not. And trust me, I wish he was. I love the man very much. But I will say that on his behalf, as Kenny mentioned, Miss Mary Ann Robarts is here, and I'm just very excited that she came. I did not know Miss Mary Ann as much at the time. I knew her occasionally from some meetings when she'd come with Coach. Other than that, I did not, but I've gotten to know her in the last probably 6 months or so, and what a wonderful lady. Mary Ann, for those that don't know her, is a Raider legend. So if you think about that, what a shining example of Raider pride of the Robarts. You just don't find it any better than that. So I'd like to thank all the aforementioned people for coming here tonight and supporting me, showing their love and support in this award tonight. Now I want to tell you just a little bit of my time here at Rummel, why I came to Rummel. Well, it goes all the way back to our grade school days. And by 7th and 8th grade, when you start getting interested in having a look at what high school you want to go to. And a lot of the folks around that area did go to Rummel, but I certainly knew that I wanted a high school to go to where I could achieve academically as well as athletically. And Rummel was still a shining example of that, so I really wanted to come here. However, my family couldn't afford to send me to Rummel. I'm one of 5. My brothers and sisters all went to public high schools. So, I met Coach Sagers, Coach Miles Sagers at Lakeshore Playground one day. Funny story about that. I didn't know him. He came out and it was an all-star baseball team, and he was pitching batting practice for us. Well, I'm up to bat, he throws one at my head, I duck. As I duck, I kind of let my hands up, hits me on my thumb, breaks my thumb against the bat. That was my first day I met him. And I still came here. So after that, I had a lot of time on the bench to talk with him. We talked a lot, and you know, he asked me about my plans for high school. So I told him what the situation was. Well, Coach Sagers, who of course knew Coach Robards, I didn't know him at the time, brought me over to the school here, introduced me, not only to Coach Robards, but to another man who's also an athletic Hall of Fame, or Raider legend, I should say, and that's Brother John Fairfax. For those that remember Brother John, he was like Coach Robards. He was tough, but as fair as you could get. But he had that way with those steely eyes. My wife always says I have those German eyes. I am German. And I can stare right through somebody. Trust me, Brother John can do the same thing. But he's always a fair man. So we discussed my situation. And Brother John offered to me that there was a program here at Rummel High School, at least back then, way back then, 47 years ago, that was sort of a work scholarship, as he called it. He told me about it, had my parents come in and submit, tax returns, and I was accepted on a work scholarship to come here to Rummel. And the last thing I remember him telling me was, you gotta keep your grades up. He didn't give me a specific GPA, but he told me I had to keep my grades up. My parents, if they were here today, my dad would always say when I did certain things, because of my self-discipline, was, he'd tell my mom, and he was see, I don't know where that boy came from. But anyhow, I was determined. So, of course, I accepted that. Came here to Rummel. And for those that are wondering what the work scholarship was, and I think over the years, I've had to defend that in the sense that some people thought that meant you just got a scholarship because you played basketball. And trust me, that was not the case at all. I know Coach Martin isn't around anymore, the late Coach Ralph Martin, but he was, had a couple of us on a work scholarship, called him the warden. Brother John would give us an index card every month. And Coach Martin was in charge of that in terms of listing our hours and signing off on those hours. And every month we had to go bring it back to Brother John. He would check it over, file it, whatever else he had to do with it administratively, and give us another card. So what things did I do? When the football players were finishing the afternoon, they had some managers, but I was working right with them to wash, dry clothes, fold clothes. The next morning I came in early, fold their clothes, put them in their lockers. If basketball did not allow for that time, they did it at that time, and I'd come back when it was over with. That was one of the duties. Some of the others will work all the events at Rummel that many of you are familiar with. When they had Rummel Chappelle volleyball night, I worked it. When they had donkey basketball, I worked that. Each one of those times, Coach Martin, the warden, would take that card, put the hour on, sign off on it, and go get the check and close it out. It actually went pretty smoothly. I took it very seriously, and as you know, kept up my GPA. I was just a determined person at that point in my life. I also had to work away from school. What kind of work did you do? Well, first I had to be able to shrimp and crab, commercial Lake Pontchartrain, because that's where I came from, that's what I knew. My mom was on seafood places out there. I did that during the summer. During the winter, I did summer shrimping, but the crab was mainly the summer job, because you had to run the straps every day. I cut grass. I did whatever I had to do. I worked at a catering place on Jefferson Highway that some of the older folks might remember, our Champagne and Wine Room. But I got some of these guys that are even in here, they're shaking their heads. Some of the guys on the basketball team, I recruited them to go over there and work. I don't necessarily think that they like me for that, but they did go over there for a while. Anyway, it's one of those situations where you did what you needed to do. The scholarship was paid 50% of my tuition. My dad would scrape up what he could, and I would add to it. Simple as that. I don't tell you that. I wouldn't be telling you that if I regretted it. I don't regret a moment of it. Think about what that taught you at a young age to begin with. Even though much of it was wherever it came from, like my dad said, I don't know where it came from. But it was just my own self-determination to go to a school that had high academic and athletic standards. That's what I was focused on. So the opportunity for me to succeed academically and athletically was right in front of me. It was now up to me to make the best of it. The faculty and staff at Rummel were great. They were always willing to help if you asked. They were always focused on not only preparing every student for college, but preparing everyone for life after Rummel, and to help everyone reach their full potential and become a great young man. That's what Rummel was all about. For me, it helped greatly to have a supportive coach, Coach S, who really took the time to know his player and what motivated them. Coach practically knew my work schedule, and whenever possible would practice hours around that work schedule. I also worked at that same place on Sunday night, so when Coach could, he would have practice earlier in the day, 4 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock at night, so that I could leave from here to go to work. Very thankful for that. If he could, he'd tell me a week ahead of time, hey, we got to practice at 7 o'clock, I got these other guys coming in the scrimmage. Okay, I got a replacement to go in for me, I couldn't work that particular week. The other thing about knowing his players that I mentioned, when Coach Robards he was feisty. He didn't have any qualms about yelling at you. But what he always knew about me, and was so true, and I really admired from the time he did it until afterwards, was there was nobody harder on me than me. So when I did something wrong, he'd call me over there and said, Chief, deal with it. Calm, like you've never seen him before. And he said, he'd look at me and say, you know what you did wrong? I said, yes, sir. He said, get back in there and do it right. On the other hand, when Jimmy Powers did something wrong, he just starts screaming. And I start backing away. I didn't want no part of that. As a matter of fact, Jimmy and Alan are here, and I haven't talked to them in quite a long time. But we had a little texting conversation when I invited them to come tonight. And this is kind of how it went. When I sent this text to them, and I told them that I sent a picture of Coach and I. We had lunch back about August 10th or so. Had lunch together along with Mary Ann, my wife. And I sent that. We took a picture. My wife, actually, I really appreciate that she thought about it. Took a picture of Coach and I sent it to those two. So I said, this is what I quote said to them. I said, I mentioned that Coach expressed a desire to get together, the three of us, and I was going to try to facilitate that. And Alan replies and says, did he scream Powers' name? And Timmy replied, I don't think I even answered him until he screamed my name. But again, he knew how to get the most out of it, because they both excelled. He knew which strings to pull, and he knew that if he screamed at me like that, I was just not gonna. I was so worried I was disappointed. But I'd like to circle back a little bit about my teammates and coaches a little more. In a team sport, I believe any success you have is directly tied to them, both your teammates and your coaches. Otherwise, you don't accomplish something in a team sport. Kenny mentioned, and you had in your bio there about those two particular shots. Well, let me tell you how that goes. De La Salle game, I was at the line with a 1-on-1, and I don't know if there was 6 seconds, but there was something under 10. And it's important that to know that it was more like, I think, more like 6 or 7. So yes, I made both ends of the 1-1. We're up by 1. Well, for those that remember, there was a guy playing for De La Salle by the name of Jordy Holberg, who went on to play at LSU after that. He was actually the leading scorer in the district. I was just behind him. It's no secret who they're going to with the ball. Well, immediately they try to throw it to Jordy because he's got 6 seconds to get off a shot. Jimmy Power steps in front and steals the ball. Game over. Otherwise, the caption in the newspaper today, the next day, does not read Schaefer makes 2 free throws to win the game. He stole the ball from him. Same thing in the Blue Jay game against Jesuit. Yes, I made a shot, top of the key, 25-footer as it was written in the paper. Same thing happens with Alan Thibodeau gets on their leading scorer. They're trying to get frantically to get him the ball with a few seconds left, and Alan's on him like white on rice, and that doesn't happen. So we win the game. Those are the untold stories, though, that I appreciate my teammates so much for. So it's not just about me. Yeah, I guess my only disappointment in all of this was that we didn't win a state title. And one of the toughest things I had to do today is field questions from guys when I start talking about high school days. And you played basketball for us? Yeah, sure did. What year you graduated? Somebody says, oh, you graduated before they won the state title. Well, that's true. However, Timmy and Al and I truly believe that we were great mentors to those guys, and they would never have won that. I knew they wouldn't disagree. We'd certainly like to think so. And Jimmy Pittman's here, he was on those teams. I think he would agree that we were pretty good mentors. So what things, this last part of this will be is, what things am I most proud of in my time at Rummel? First thing is my 2 team MVP trophies. Yeah, as an individual, anybody would be proud of that, but the reason I'm proud of that is, those MVP trophies that I received my junior and senior year were trophies that were voted on by the team. They were not one person picking somebody, so these guys, well, I guess y'all voted for me. But that's why I'm most proud of those 2 trophies, because the team voted. The next one, Kenny alluded to a little bit, even though this is Athletic Hall of Fame, is the fact that the valedictorian and salutatorian of the class of '76 were both basketball players. Not just, I was salutatorian. My valedictorian was on the basketball team as well. Scott Hansen was me. We only had 6 seniors. We had to make room for all these sophomores that were coming up to win state 2 years ago. All the rest of the seniors were gone. So, Coach was obviously proud of us too. He has a picture framed and matted, hanging in his office until he left the moment, of Scott and I in our captain gown and holding a basketball together. Took a picture, that hung in his office until he left Rummel High School. Mary Ann was kind enough to give me that picture after Jim's passing here just in the last few weeks. He's 47 years old. It was in a little bit of deteriorating condition. I put it back together and it's hanging in the office, my home office right now. And it's a remembrance for me of Coach Rummel and what a great man he was. And how much he also talked to us all the time about academics. It wasn't just about what you did on the basketball court. Oh, and also got the third proudest moment was when I won the P-Rod race in Bucktown, and Bucktown blessing to the fleet in 1975. I'm not going to be much longer today. True story. You know, when you move and you have to get rid of all those childhood trophies, there's 3 I kept, you know, the 2 MVPs and that P-Rod. If you'll indulge me for just about 2 more minutes, I'd like to ask a couple people to come up. Alan, Timmy, Mary Ann, Coach Sagers. This is the end, okay? One other coach. The only other person I would love to have had up here is Brother John. I can't say enough about how much he influenced my life. Even if he just had to get you that book. He was a man of few words, but he was a great man. When I look back at my days at Rummel, I think about the people I met who had a long-lasting impact on my life. Teammates, coaches, and educators. They were all this bunch up here, along with Brother John. These are the people that most inspired me to always give 100% because they always did. And I want to thank them for that. They truly embody what greater pride meant. My hope is that I also inspired others who came behind me, just as people up here did for me. Because if so, and everyone does follow suit, we can all be assured that greater pride will live on. Thank you.